Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me today. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my primary school experience. Or if you're an American viewer, that's kindergarten or elementary school to you. Please remember to give my video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're interested in watching my future autism related videos. I have so many stories I could tell you about school. School was a very difficult time for me right from the start. I hated it so much and I struggled a lot over the years. So I figured I would start with my primary school experience and work my way up. Right from when I first started school, I didn't get on at all well. I struggled to learn anything as I found school boring. And naturally, if I find something boring, I don't take it all in. Probably why I'm not the brightest now, because I never paid attention at school. I would rather be doing my own thing, and I would very often go off and do my own thing rather than doing my schoolwork, and I would very often get told off. Sometimes a colouring book in the corner of the classroom would take my fancy, and I would happily leave my maths book and go and do some colouring in. Other times, the class hamster would catch my attention, and I would jump up off the floor whilst the rest of the class were listening to story time to go see the hamster. If something more interesting was in the picture, you bet I would stop with the boring math sums or the history lesson which I had no interest in and go off and do something more interesting. At the time, I didn't have an autism diagnosis, so the teachers probably thought that I was just being naughty and disruptive. It got so bad that in the end I had to have a helper sit with me in class so that I wouldn't wander off. I only managed to make one friend in primary school and I liked to keep her to myself. She wasn't allowed to make any other friends. I was frightened I'd lose her and end up on my own if she made another friend. She was in my class and we were best friends for years. Break times and lunch times at primary school was so much fun because we would play made-up games and have lots of fun. For a short while, there was a girl in another class who would bully my friend and I, so we were then frightened to go into the playground, so instead we would hide in the toilets. She did actually end up locking my friend in the toilet on one occasion, so it was pretty scary times. I didn't mix with any of the other kids at lunch or break, or at all really. I could only communicate with my one friend. That was it. I had no other friends. I missed a lot of time at school during my primary years because I was badly asthmatic and in hospital a lot. And in reception, I'd have to go home every lunchtime to have a nebulizer. This was a vital year for social development, and this is where people were making their lifelong friends, and I missed a huge chunk of this important year. I remember being too afraid to use the toilets because the hand dryers were so noisy, and I remember they used to frighten me. I hated eating in front of other people at lunchtimes. During the summer times, we used to sit on these little mats outside and I would always sit on my own in a corner. I remember being Mary in the school nativity and they chose me to be Mary because I could stay sitting down and they could keep an eye on me. I remember Mum had to go on all the school trips with me because I was so naughty and she didn't want to risk me getting lost because I had a tendency to wander off and do my own thing. Alright, so here's a few things I did enjoy about primary school. There was nothing more exciting than the rare moments when the teacher would wheel in the CRT TV and VHS player. It would always be either Come Outside, Al Nombre, or Words and Pictures. Good times. Art was by far my favourite lesson. I always much preferred creative work than practical. It was so much less boring, and I would have so much fun sprinkling glitter all over paper, cutting out paper snowflakes at Christmas, and drawing on paper plates. Art remained my favourite subject during secondary school and college too. Who needs maths when you have a calculator, when you could be spending precious time doing art instead? Whilst PE was always my least favourite lesson and was the plague of my school life, PE apparatus were a different story. It only came out once or twice a year, but it was honestly the highlight of my primary school years. There was nothing more fun than climbing up the ladders and bars, swinging on the ropes, and climbing over the gym horse in PE. Break times during the summer months, running around playing games with my best friend. Sat on the grass making daisy chains. Throwing beanbags, using a skipping rope, and rolling a hula hoop around. Playing hide and seek and hiding in the bushes. They were by far the happiest summers of my life. I loved the singing in assembly. It was about the only time I sat down and joined in. I found singing enjoyable, and I remember being absolutely devastated when I went to secondary school to find that there was no longer assemblies or singing. Despite me being so terribly naughty, the headmaster actually wrote to my mum in my final school report saying that I was such a character and that he'll never forget me. I now attend my primary school fete every summer because I find it's a very nostalgic place and I just love going there. And the school headmaster actually did remember me over 2 decades later. I miss primary school times. It was the best years of school. The work was simplistic enough to understand. After that, it just started getting harder and harder. For someone with a low IQ such as myself, I majorly struggled as the school years went on with the hardness of the work. I loved how everyone was on the same level as me in those days. There was no bullying, well, except from that one girl. No judgment, and I was just the same as everyone else. There was playtime at lunch and break, something I greatly missed at secondary school. People were into toys, cartoons, childish video games, and honestly, it was one of the rare ages where I actually had something in common with people my own age before they all grew up. All in all, primary school was a good experience, despite me being bored and only having one friend. I'd love to know how you guys got on in primary school. Please let me know in the comments below. I will be making videos on my junior school, secondary school and homeschool experience in the future too, so please keep an eye out for those. And I've got a very interesting video coming up of some of the shocking things I did during my school years, so you won't want to miss that one. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.